Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining on Saturday evening, 5 o'clock. So, on behalf of Just Being Center for Mindfulness and Presence, I welcome all of you to this today's beautiful open house on presence-oriented psychotherapy. What is really presence-oriented psychotherapy? We'll talk about it more. Uh, Before that, uh, we of course have many talented alumni who are joining us today. We have a plethora of them. We have psychologists, psychotherapists, we have coach, counselor. So it'll be interesting to hear from them, their perspectives, their individual journeys throughout this program of presence-oriented psychotherapy. I would like to invite Sandy to maybe shed some light on presence-oriented psychotherapy as a program. Sandy is a founder director of Just Being Center, and she has also developed this program. So Sandy, request if you can maybe say a few things about the program.
Thanks, Gayatri, and thank you, everyone. I think have a lot more registrations who were interested, and we will be sharing the recording with them. So about the 2-year program, it is a 2-year part-time program where the training is in the orientation towards presence, and where psychotherapy or the therapeutic processes are then done from a presence or a mindfulness orientation. Mindfulness is the base practice, so it plays a very key role in the learning, in the implementation, and the understanding of a presence-oriented approach. And the whole therapeutic approach really rests on 3 strands. Yes, Varuna, you will receive the recording. And so one of the strands, one major pillar is the self of the therapist. So where the therapist comes into, or the counselor comes in touch with their own inner sense of presence, being very present, being very attuned to the other. And for that, whatever one encounters, that one does. The second pillar of the course is the relational field, the relational aspect. And there we kind of like really bringing presence in, and what it means to bring presence in the relational aspect of how we could be attuned, how can we work in the field of resonance, how can we work with a sense of deep listening to the other and really present to the other at many different layers, whether it is, the somatic layer, the affective layer, the cognitive layer, the energetic layer. So there is so much that is really there in that encounter between therapist and client. And the more we bring our attention to these things, the more we attune to it, then this deeper force of presence really comes forth. And then that brings the one could say the healing, or that's allowed to kind of guide the therapeutic process. The third layer is the third pillar is that of supporting the client in coming into presence. And so we are also learning different skills, different ways, but largely more than skills, it is also this way of being with the other that allows also the recognition of the client of their own sense of presence. So I won't say much about theoretically what it is. It's nice to really hear from people who've experienced the course and gone through it, to share their experiences, however it was, and also a chance for those of you who are present here to, in the live interaction, to really have a chance to interact with our alumni and ask questions directly that you may have about this. All right. Yeah. So, yes, maybe we'll begin, Gayatri. And I'm here. And if there are any questions that there might be, of course, you can always ask, um, any one of us. But I'll also be here in case there's a question that is specific that I need to ask.
Yeah, thank you, Sandy. And yeah, it's great that whoever is here today, we have uh, the alumni with us, we have Sandy with us. So, any questions, please feel free to bring them. We have kept some time for question answers towards the end, but even in between, you're free to type in the chat box or bring it up towards the end. So we'll begin with the shared experiences. First, I would like to invite Payal Purwal. Payal is a Mysore-based counseling psychologist with about 5 years of experience and including 2 years of experience of their own. They hold MSc from Christ University, Bangalore. And in addition to this arena of psychotherapy, they also like they're quite active in swimming, running, trekking, etc. So great to have you with us here, Payal, today. And may I request you to take us through your journey of this presence-oriented psychotherapy program, what your experiences were.
Thank you, Gayatri. Oh, okay. So, firstly, I am really grateful for the opportunity to share my experience with everyone over here because it's a very valuable experience. And yeah, okay. So, this was one of the most meaningful journeys that I've taken in my life, one of the most meaningful ones. And I am not the same person that I was uh, 2 years ago before I started this course. And at the same time, I am more fully the person that I am, uh, if that makes sense. What I mean to say is that um, in the last 2 years, I have really come closer to myself, become more intimate with my inner being in a way that I did not know was possible. And that's what makes this journey so valuable and so beautiful. Yeah. So I will start off with there are two ways I would like to, share my experience. One is the personal side, and the second is the professional side. And I'll start off with the personal side because, as a therapist, the person that we are is one of the most impactful factors in helping clients create change. We are the instruments on which the entire therapeutic process rests on. I didn't really join this course for the personal inner work. I joined it for the professional side. But what ended up happening was the inner work is what I took away the most from the course. Um, so, as an example, I remember in one of the earlier months of the course, we had an external facilitator who was teaching us some concepts, and as I heard her, my mind kept jumping to, oh, how would I apply this to this client and that client, and how would I do it with this person? And when I asked her, she said, slow down. First, take it in and see how you would apply it to yourself. Um, and in that moment, I was irritated. But it turned out that that was the pause that I really needed. Um, because as therapists, we really tend to skip uh, what we need, the nourishment that we need, and jump ahead to what clients need. So we're always in this mode where we're pouring out for the clients. And I needed that pause to really take stock of myself. Um, yeah. So in supporting this inner work, what has been most helpful is the facilitators, Sandy, who is here, and Harini, another facilitator, the energy that they bring in, and the community that is created in 2 years. So, of course, I had been in personal therapy way before this course. So, and I had also tried out group therapy, but there is something different that happens in these 2 years. Um, it's like 20-25 odd people and you're together for 2 years. That's a long time, and the whole course is directed, geared in the direction of inner work. So there is so much vulnerability that opens up between all the peers, and there's this amplification of the healing process that I witnessed in this community. um, yeah. So it becomes a holding environment, the holding environment that we study of in developmental psychology, a holding environment of 25 people where there is unconditional acceptance and genuine compassion, and the results are just magical. The ways in which all of us have been able to find our way back home is just amazing. Another thing that I want to add to this is the foundational philosophy of the course, which was really reparative for me, and which, in a way, for me, it was the foundation of that. Amplification of the healing process in the community. And that was the shift from seeing ourselves as something to be fixed to seeing our inner wholeness. When you come from a whole background in clinical psychology, that's what gets drilled into you, the fixing part of it. What is wrong and how can it be fixed? So as of, if I can put that metaphorically, if there was, the way I saw myself before was a vase with a lot of cracks on it, and I was trying to like plaster it up, plaster the cracks, make the vase beautiful again or something. But in the last 2 years, what I discovered was on the surface what that might look like cracks, but at the core, um, there is there is basically a jewel, and that this may sound like too much, but that's how it was. Um, like that the yeah that you the therapeutic work is not to fix anything, it's to find our way back to the inner wholeness that already exists and that has always existed. That's the personal front. Moving on to the professional part of it. So the biggest takeaway in terms of uh, as a psychologist was the experiential aspect of the course. Having come from a background in psychology, there was sufficient knowledge for me. And where there was a deficiency of knowledge, I knew how to find the knowledge, what books to read, what journal articles to read. The problem was with putting it to practice. And that was happening in its own way. But in retrospect, when I compare how I am now to a few years ago, the difference is that that translation was very top down. It was very the knowledge in my head. I'm really trying to translate that into practice, which is fine. So, for example, something as simple as grounding. It's a very simple topic, and we all study a variety of grounding techniques, such as the 5 4 3 2 1, the five senses, things you can see, smell, etc. We learn what situations you have to apply them in, what um, uh, if it doesn't work, then it kind of like a match the following that we learn with all the techniques and the disorders and things like that. Um, and while that translation into practice is helpful, it the way I can describe it is it's kind of like driving a car in the wrong gear. So the car is going forward, but there's still that sound that tells you that something is not quite right. The experiential aspect of the course flipped the script where it helped me have a bottom up experience of all of the concepts that we studied. What that means is that I was able to experience things in my entire body. So, like Sandy was saying, the different layers, somatically, affectively, energetically, and not just cognitively. And was that played the biggest role in absolutely um, shifting who I was as a therapist, shifting how I viewed my work and this field. Um, so going back to that very simple example of grounding, there is a very personal journey that we can have with each of these concepts that gets erased when you just learn it off of a textbook. So what Sandy did was to help us have that personal journey with each of these concepts. Um, and and um, and here's something I've written here is the concepts. It feels like you know them from the back of your hand when you study them your entire adult life. But when you embark on this personal journey, it's like being Alice in Wonderland, discovering all this complexity and nuance and depth to topics that you took for granted that you thought were so simple. And now, when I look at grounding and the journey, something so simple and the journey that I've had with it, it's amazing how I feel this whole body sense of relaxation, something that is almost euphoric and that I did not even know was possible um, 2 years back. I also want to share a personal, like a more concrete example of this. Before, I began the course and I was, working. I was working as a therapist even then. Um, I had a lot of headaches. I was really struggling with headaches. And I had tried everything to figure out what the cause could be, whether it was sleeping, whether I was sleeping right, whether I was eating right, was something wrong with working on screen, and nothing was helping. So I was popping paracetamols like unhealthily. Um, in the first month that I started this course, the headaches magically disappeared, and I was like, "What happened? What is it that was different?" And it was grounding. It turned out that I wasn't as grounded as I thought I was. Um, I was listening with my head in all my sessions. I was listening with my head. And with the practices that Sandy began to introduce, I learned how to start listening from my whole body. I learned how to be an embodied listener. And, uh, and, I don't have headaches anymore at all. So, yeah, that's a concrete example. Mm, yes. So I can give a lot of examples and keep gushing about this community and everyone. But what I would like to end on, the note that I would like to end on is how I experience myself as a therapist right now, and I would credit it entirely to presence. Is how I feel a sense of being of like a buoy in an ocean, buoy. Because as a therapist, I feel light. I feel like I'm floating, and I feel like I'm held by this entire ocean, this ocean of presence and this community and Sangha. So, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Pal. Immensely grateful for those kind words. And thank you for taking us through your journey and how presence has changed you professionally, personally, and it has really shaped the professional in you. Thank you for taking us through that. Um, Now I would like to invite Kanika Bhandari. Kanika has a very different kind of a profession. She practices and holds an alternative holistic therapeutic space as a soul-based coach and a counselor. And prior to that, she has been a part of educational space in the social development and entrepreneurship landscape for over a decade. Alignment with the truth, love, and service has been a decades long becoming in her practice is an extension of her personal training. Kanika, I welcome you to this space today. And, it's a very different kind of profession you are into, or you really, your focus is very different from the generic professions. So I would like to request you if you can shed some light on how this presence-oriented program has helped you in your journey. If you can share a few experiences, your anecdotes, that would be really, really good.
Yeah, thank you, Gayatri. Just also still taking in parts of what Payal said and how much resonance there is with that, and coming into sharing what I intend to. I think I'd beginning with yeah, in the way in which I've experienced my journey through the program, there has been a sort of a braiding and juxtaposition of the personal and the professional. So it's going to sort of weave in and out of that as I share. And I guess I'd like to begin with the very core of the work, which is how I experience the space with the clients. And one of the things I recognized is that through the course of the program. And like you mentioned, Gayatri, very often the clients I interact with are not sitting with direct presentations of clinical aspects that they are able to recognize that, oh, I have this diagnosis or that's what's happening. But they're all aware that something has given way. And so either there is the background anxiety, or there is a proclivity towards depression, or there is this space of, I notice I'm just moving through my days, or there's this question of everything is right, but something isn't right, or there is this aspect of a lot of my clients, also, I went to therapy and we've resolved my issue, but I don't think that I feel resolved within me. So there is a lot of that spectrum that I function with as well. And very often there is this orientation of coming into this space upon looking at me as the expert to then guide them, tell them about what's the right path to take so that exactly where they want to arrive at in life is where they arrive at. And one of the things that I've noticed, that I used to notice before the course, is that there was this energetic pressure that I began feeling in every session, which is like, what do I do? How can I orient in a way that this person's life, how much of me can
My sound is very bad.
You cannot hear me clearly? Gayatri?
I can hear you, yes. No, I think the other person was not. Yeah, now it's fine.
Yeah. Okay. So if it goes bad at any point of time, just any signal works. I can see everyone on my screen. So, yeah, so just sort of going with this pressure of how closely can I bring an empathic attunement with the other person so that what I bring into the space is aligned. And there was this whole pressure. And I think one of the things that's happened through the course and really orienting in the way that the course allows you to orient to a larger field is almost, sorry, and before I go into that, and I'd also started experiencing this insufficiency of me being the one that can do this for whoever is coming across in this space. So I think that through the course, orienting towards, as the course allows us to practice a larger field or presence, or as Sandy says, one of the core tenets of the course, doing that supported me in being able to resource from something larger, but at the same time, very concrete. So it isn't airy-fairy. And that was a beautiful experience to come into contact with something that is so tacit, so difficult to express, however, so clear, learnable, contactable, and practicable in a space with another. And that's been a beautiful gift in client sessions, because then there is a resourcing from something larger where there is a field of healing within which the client can be resourced, and simultaneously I am resourced as the instrument and not as the doer. However, there is an action that is being done through me, and how close am I to the process of being the one through which the action is being done has been made very concrete and not a lovely ideological statement to make. I think that's been a very core shift in the therapeutic process, which has been powerful. An aspect of, and this is woven through. So there is, I noticed there is a through thread in the entire course, which is the orientation. But at the same time, when I say it very concrete, I mean, there are sufficient tools and practices that have supported meeting the material that comes within a session. So I might say all of that. And yet there is very concrete life material that comes within a session. And there are, in each module, there is an addition to that repertoire where I can sort of lean back on also a certain framework that is possible to bring into the therapeutic space. But how I bring that in has been very powerfully supported and shifted through the course. And I'm happy to share a more concrete example. What it has also done, and like I said, the personal professional is here is where it's intermingled for me, is as the modules progressed, and I personally dropped deeper into the ground from which the course is built. And, my cognitive guards, my various aspects of holding my own theories about myself up lowered. I think through the peer sessions and through the practices in the modules, I interfaced with some difficult material within myself as well, and as my capacity to hold that, accompany that, and really on a sort of my edges and humanness increased, the ease with which I held that for a client magnified. And I think that's something that's palpable in the energetic field when the other across from the screen knows that I'm at home with what they might be bringing. There is a certain comfort of being able to be with that in this space then, which then by themselves was difficult because there is something, and in the core, something within me really relaxed and expanded into that comfort. And that's another change that I've noticed in client sessions. So yeah, it has had how I interface with my own material has had a very deep impact on what happens in the client sessions. I think Pyle also very beautifully referenced this. Repeating this, but cannot let this go unsaid, the manner in which the learning space is held by all the facilitators has had a very profound impact on me. And the impact that it has had is that of integration. A lot of what we're speaking about in the course I've said this before, is implicit and tacit. And every time in the module, when I experienced that embodiment of that energy, that way of being, and that way of meeting another human, there was almost like an osmotic absorption of, oh, what does this feel like? How do you really bring this into a space? What does it feel like to receive this? And that is irreplaceable. I don't think 1,000 words could do justice to the actual experience of being in a field where it is embodied. And that's how I experienced all the modules, and the integration or the ability of bringing that into a session vastly increased because of that, because I knew what it felt like. I knew what it felt like to receive it. And I was speaking about content a while back. So in terms of content, that there has been content like that I had interfaced with before. So I'll specifically talk about, let's see, and I think the brochure mentions this as well, the internal family systems. So it's something that I had read before, interfaced with before, and I, I went through the whole thing, and what it made me do is just go in my head, and I'm like, what is coming up, and what's happening with this guy now, which manager, whether this exile, well, I'm not going to get into the terminology, but it divided me in a session, and just the manner in which it was woven through in this course, it has made me experience the same modality as an absolutely magnificent tool to support a client to move through some aspects which are not contactable in their conscious narrative of their own life, for that matter. And yeah, so I think and with a lot of other concepts, I experienced that there's this nexus between making a modality prescriptive and keeping its sound research and base very valid and very alive, but orienting towards it from a lens of depth, from a lens of heart intelligence, from a lens of healing. And that nexus is so splendidly woven throughout this course, in not just IFS, in every modality that the course brochure lists, that it's been magnificent to contact these prescriptive models in ways that are that much vaster and deeper, and then employ them in my practice. And yeah, and I think lastly, specifically speaking to the modality I practice, since I call it soul-based coaching or counseling, it's because there is a natural proclivity towards supporting the client see their own wholeness and heal from there. And yet there is a very there's a very subtle facilitation that is required for a process like that, which it's been honed through this course, and I'm just so grateful for having received how to bridge that space for a person who sees themselves as maybe broken, maybe something that really desperately needs fixing, or someone that is irredeemable, how to really walk them into that space of wholeness without telling this to them, without saying that you are essentially inevitably connected to and all of that, but with how to really help them experience that. And so in that sense, the course really seamlessly ties in with the modality that I practice. And then I noticed that when the clients have almost like, and as this skill, over these 2 years, so much practice and so much of really coming back to seeing how is it that I could facilitate this better. As this skill has been honed, I noticed the insights or the new place of orienting that the client comes to is much more enduring. It's so much more embodied within the client. And the course has also given me this reminder that of how to support the client to embody it and to take it down to their own physiology, to their own energetic experience, to their own somatic experience of it, rather than it just being an insight that came in that came in a session because there was this field and because there was this therapist from across the screen, and I hit upon it at that time, but now I lost it, is also something that I had interfaced with my clients. But yeah, I think the course did a beautiful job of supporting me in how to really let the client make it their own in a non-cognitive way. And I, the only thing that I want to close with one of the aspects that has been the most valuable and the most unexpected part of the support system, which is the incredible place of belonging that the peer network has been. It's been unexpected simply because I couldn't have imagined the quality of humans that I would interface with in this course. the spectrum that the cohort has of the different kind of practices and modalities that, and also client populations that everyone supports. And it's been so incredibly wholesome, and the peer session. So there is so much experiential rigor in the course that I have loved it. If the course is experiential, the rigor in the course is also experiential, and I am just so thrilled about it. And through all the peer sessions, I think the process of seeing and being seen in all our phases across these 2 years has opened up something in me as a human, and I am incredibly grateful for that space of belonging and the community of peers that have been a ground for healing and loving and laughing for me, and it's been an unparalleled set of people to have come together with. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't think I covered specific anecdotes, but that's just how I think it came for me right now. Yeah.
Thank you, Kanika, and it's really a delight to hear your journey through this program and how really you can blend the two in your work that you're doing, and how you make it more relatable to your clients. So thank you so much for taking us through that. Grateful for that. Now, I would like to invite Purva Deshpande. She is a Pune-based psychologist with about 3 years of experience in this field, and she deals with supporting individuals through emotional difficulties, trauma, sexual violence, etc. And she really deals with so many culturally sensitive topics. So I would like to know from you, Purva, how the whole program of POP has really been instrumental in your journey, because these topics, these kind of areas that you're dealing with are really the need of the hour. So how it has really shaped you as a professional and personally too, if you can take us through that.
Yeah, thank you, Gayatri. Being here talking like this feels a little wonky. But yeah, the course has been transformational in every sense. Being me, being a person in this world, being a practitioner, working with different clients, communities, etc. As Payal shared in their sharing, they are completely a different person after the course or something like that. I would like to take that forward. Like I also feel like I am a different person, but I am the most like myself now. Like this is the most Purva I have been, something like that. So yeah, and Kanika, Payal both shared how transformational it has been for them on a personal level, definitely for me as well. But I would like to shed more light on the therapist aspect of it, the process of it, and how it has been supportive for me. So I was working at an NGO, and the project was about supporting the survivors of sexual violence, and my job was providing psychological support in every aspect of the process. Even also in the police stations and court, and providing therapy to them if that's required, etc. The therapeutic work did not happen much, but the counseling part was like the most of my job. Um, and in the earlier days, I used to feel like it's a lot. It's a lot to be with this. It's a lot to be with this narrative, um, and people are feeling so much. People are going through so much, and it's a lot for me. And how the course started around that time only. After I think 1 year of my practice, I enrolled, and it really again rediscovered me, retaught me, refacilitated the stance of being a practitioner, the stance of being a counselor in that space. And the stance is really of resting back and really listening. I remember Sandy saying in one of the lectures ki, there's a difference in doing therapy and being a therapist. So the doing aspect, we are more into that. I have to come here, I have to reflect this thought, and I have to take the client from here to here, and I have to take in this framework, etc. But being a therapist is really allowing the human contact, because we are humans, and that's the best part of it. The human contact of the human between us, within us, to the human within the client who is suffering. So that being a therapist. I'm still in the awe of the process, how simple it is, how simplistic, non-complicated it is. I mean, there are no jargons, no complicated frameworks of tracking different things at the same time, or, conceptualizing these things for the client, educating them with that. Not at all. It's simply listening to the feelings. It's simply sensing the body along with that, supporting ourselves, supporting the client, the co-regulation bit of it, and uh, how easeful is that? I won't say easy, definitely, because we are also conditioned with a lot of uh, things that come in between. But it can be easeful as a process to facilitate as a practitioner. Um, so simply grounding, accessing some resource in the surrounding, something within us, simply breathing, being with whatever's there, and not distracting, not moving away from the experience, but really being with it. And again, in the awe of the wholeness of the process, like all those aspects of not wanting something, client not wanting to do something, client not feeling like being with a certain part, not feeling like going into a certain exploration. It is also telling us of something. It also knows some valuable information and how to take that forward from there. That is useful. That is that holds a lot of seed for growth as well. So the aspects that we tend to reject as humans, how they can be included and they are welcomed rather in the therapeutic space, in the process, and learning that, it has been transformational, truly. um, I really appreciate how the modality does not subtract the human that resides within us as therapists, because we feel a lot of things in the process. We kind of sometimes judge, and there's no point in denying that. So we sometimes judge, we sometimes want to fix things for the client, we sometimes want to question certain things about them, we want to hold them accountable, etc., etc. So what is happening with that? Whom within us is responding to that aspect of the client, and what is really happening there? And again, it also holds some information, sometimes about ourselves, sometimes about the client, that this is how it is for them, and maybe something needs to be done or not done in this area. For example, I was working with a survivor, and she was not really willing to speak. First of all, she did not know how to speak in Marathi or Hindi. She was not Indian. She could only speak in English, and the people around her, even the police and many of them, they could not speak English. So my job was essentially of a translator and uh, a support person. And even with me, she was not willing to speak at all. Uh, I don't know, like I was sitting with her and there was a lot of resistance within her. And I gently asked if she would be willing to write things, to communicate through writing, if she knows how to write. And she was open for that. And for like first 5-6 days, we were only communicating through writing. And even then, of course, we were sharing a space together, we were in person together. But even through writing, when she was not willing to speak and communicate verbally, physically, um, even then I could support her, and there was a sense of uh, there was this intention of support and care and compassion, and 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 it was a like whole different process for both of us. um yeah, so the process is really easeful, it's really allowing, it's really um inclusive of everything and anything that wants to come in from the client side, and how we can meet that. um that was a mm, that was a very essential learning. um I wanted to say something first. I've missed on that. This concept of presence, and not really concept, like presence as a core ingredient, as a driving force of this modality. And presence is really a state of, very unconditional okayness and rest and connection and groundedness, and all of that. Um, just naming that this state of being, this state of body mind is presence, and the therapy is to rest into it, keep one foot there, keep one foot in the difficult area, and then take the process from there. Just naming this state and naming this okayness, for myself, it has been very helpful. Like, we all have felt that, we all have experienced presence, I'm sure. So identifying that for that, and uh, yeah, really allowing the body mind to feel that more, to visit that more, and to be aware of that more. That was a new thing, surprisingly. So yeah. um Lastly, I would like to say that uh, how all of the process and the modality is rooted in compassion, not only as a practice but as an intention, as an as a philosophy of the process. As I said, a human is interacting with another human, and it really allows to feel that humanness for both of them. And as therapists, we a lot of times we deal with compassion fatigue. We have to take it out from some corner within us and allow it, offer it to the client. But this modality is not about that. It's about resting together. Sometimes resting together in the compassion that is already available in the presence. Not resting all the um, resting all the fixing urges, other all these doing urges, and just being there and resting in the compassion. uh yeah, and I'm really glad that happened for me now, through this course, because don't know how much would I have suffered without that. So yeah, this is how it was for me, and a wonderful community I have had now. uh it's it is a lonely job being a mental health practitioner, because we are we are alone dealing with another client, and due to confidentiality and other ethics, we are not supposed to take that out of the therapy room and from that space. But the human really craves for other humans, and to just rest into their presence and rest into that company. So I have found my community to come back to. I found them to, rest together and play together, and yeah, just be. So that's how it was for me. Thank you.
Yeah, that's lovely, Purva. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, it's a lonely thing to go through, but how compassion and how really being rooted, that has really helped you, that has really flourished you as a professional. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm sure whoever is curious about knowing about presence, knowing about presence oriented psychotherapy, are all gaining some insights from all of your sharings. I'm very sure about that. Thank you. Thank you, Purva, once again. So now I would like to invite Rukmini Chawla Kumar. She has a diverse profile. She's a mindfulness-based counselor, and she is certified in mindfulness-based counseling, listening with embodied presence, offered by Just Being Center in affiliation to St. Mira's College in Pune. She has also completed her training in presence-oriented psychotherapy recently. She's certified in creative writing for therapeutic purposes from the UK, where she uses creative writing tools to help people connect with their inner experiences. That is quite a thing. She's also a Reiki master, and she works with energies, both in her personal as well as professional life. She has received a mastership in 2001 from Karmic Research Center, and then she holds plethora of different certifications. Uh, Specifically, I would like to mention here is that she has begun the transition from a book publisher to into counseling and psychotherapy, and so she aspires to be a psychotherapist as well. Rukmini, glad to have you today here in this space. And we would like to know about your journey and specifically if there are any insights or learnings through this program of presence oriented psychotherapy. And if there is anything pertaining to body mind connection that you would like to throw light on.
Thanks, Gayatri. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this lovely space. And I'm so happy to be a part of it. About 30 odd years ago, I went into basic training in psychotherapy. And that was a very cognitively oriented system. And I did a year's training in that. And then I went away to study. And by the time I came back, I thought to myself, do I want to go back and do advanced training in that specific psychotherapeutic module? And the answer I came up with was, no, something's missing. I'm not quite sure what it is. So now I know what was missing. So I'm going to forward to, the present time. What was missing for me and why this POP program is so precious is that there are other programs like the one that I trained in, which are psychology based, which look at the psyche, the mind, the cognitive aspects of a person. But what I was completely missing was the spiritual aspect of who I am, who we are. So there was no connection with that, and I couldn't find that in that particular program. Presence-oriented psychotherapy brings for me every single aspect of being human. So it has the mind, it has the body, and it has the spirit, or the soul, as it were. And the way we've been taught by Sandy, every single concept that she has taught us in these 2 years, and there's the psychological concepts, therapeutic modalities of different kinds that have been brought together in a very integrative way. But we have been able to experience all of them. And I'm saying experience, we haven't just been thinking about all of them. So it's not been an experience in the head. We've been able to experience each of those therapeutic modalities in the body, in this moment. And that's where the mindfulness concepts also come in. So what Sandy's created here is a system where you have psychological concepts which are married to the wisdom traditions. And the whole thing together, POP is so rich that really I have no idea how I'm supposed to talk about the last 2 years in these few minutes. So I'm not really going to try, except to say that it makes me complete as a person, because all aspects of me come together in the training that we've been given. What does that do to me when I'm sitting with a client? I can see the client as a whole being, really, as Kanika shared, as Payal and Purav shared in other ways. So there is this sense that, we are intrinsically whole. There is this divine presence or presence that I am, that you are. And in this, there are lots of parts of us that have broken up, or we've broken up into different parts through life. Life happens to us. We're born whole. Life happens, and lots of things happen inside. And this is just a way of, not just a way, this is an amazing way of healing, where we're able to bring together all those broken, isolated, hurting, lost parts of us, and to be the whole beings that we are always meant to be. So that happens first in us when we're training to be therapists. And then that's the work that we make with the clients that we sit with. One of the most precious things for me has been that, and I've said this a little earlier, whatever Sandy has taught us, it's not really been in a classroom, okay, write notes and learn this, and then you write this in the exam. No, whatever is being taught, how is it affecting me here, in my head, in my heart, in my cells, in my toes, in my gut? What is it doing to me neurologically, physiologically, psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, energetically? There isn't a part of me, a part of us, that's left unaffected. So this is, if there's one program, one psychotherapeutic program that I've been fortunate to find, it is POP, because it is really where we become complete as human beings, and we discover, hey, you know what? We were always complete. We've just forgotten these parts of us. So it's just bringing all that back together and holding yourself. And that's what you do with a client. Sandy's always taught us that client or the person you're with or anyone is, they have their own wisdom. You're not here to do anything to them. You're not here to do anything for them. You're accompanying them in a journey. There's nothing that you have to give them. So all those sort of ideas I used to have in my head, and also the sense of, therefore, the responsibility. Even now, sometimes when I sit with a client, a new client in the first 2 minutes, I think to myself, oh my God, what am I doing here? I don't know how to help this person. And then, the reality dawns and it's like, no, you're not meant to be helping. So it's, the institute is called Just Being. It's the simplest term that Sandy could come up with, but it is the most moving and profound thing, because we just learn to be here. We just learn to be. And there's really nothing to do. And the not doing anything is a whole process of learning, because you have to first unlearn everything you've learned your whole life. And then you learn to just be. I mean, in just that, the name is everything that POP really is. So yeah, that's coming together of all the parts of us. Now, that sounds a bit vague sometimes, but let me just therefore mention some of the systems that we are taught here. So I think someone, Payal maybe, I forget, Kanika mentioned IFS. So that's internal family systems. That comes in. You have all the mindfulness traditions. You have somatic work. You have trauma-informed therapy. So you have lots of different kinds of psychotherapeutic modules and systems. And these are all tools that we've just, been given. And now, if I have a problem, for instance, something triggers me, I'm like, oh, wait, I don't even need anyone else anymore. I will just sit with myself. I will do that work on myself. I've been given the tools. I've been shown how, and do the work on myself, and the clarity comes. And then when I step back into the world to face that same situation or that same trigger, that hasn't changed. I've changed. And so everything feels different. And I am an empowered human being. That's what POP is done in a nutshell. I have to confess, Annie, the thing about this talk is that we're talking about POP is that when there's so much to say, my head, I sort of go blank, because where do you start and what do you say? So I hope I've been able to say a little bit about why this was just the rightest, most amazing thing to come my way. It was what I needed as a human being and as a therapist. And it just makes complete sense for my own healing and for my work with anyone else. And I want to mention that when we look at the mindfulness traditions, the ancient wisdom traditions, those things they feed directly into the psychotherapy work that we do, because we look at things when we're sitting with a client or indeed with ourselves. What is there? Compassion, openness, a lack of judgment, acceptance of who one is in this moment, who one was, who one will be. So just a complete acceptance of whatever is happening, non-judgment, and just kindness and curiosity. So there's no judgment because, can I be curious with this, yucky thing I've discovered in myself? Oh, this horrible aspect of me or my client. Is it really horrible? It's just a part of me. It's a little broken child who reacted in a certain way and developed this fear. Essentially, we're all parts of us are parts that want to be loved and have the right to be loved. And that's what POP has really given me and given us, that there is really nothing but love. I'm sorry if that sounds really esoteric, but it's true. And we just really have to be. There's nothing else to do. So yeah, my life has changed. My life has completely changed. Thank you.
Thank you, Rukmini, for that heartfelt sharing and really, putting it in the simplest words, what presence means, how it has changed you, and giving your own story. Thank you, everyone, for sharing so open-heartedly today. Sandy, would you like to say anything?
Just that I'm very deeply touched by all that every one of you has shared with Mani, Purva, Kanika, Payal. And yes, it's kind of a remembrance also. So I think that's what also we do in as we are learning the course, we come into remembering this again and again, and it keeps resonating in the container that is built. Yeah. But we can move on to questions, Gayatri, that people who joined us, especially for the live session, that if they have anything that they want to ask any one of us, that would be very welcome.
Yeah. You can either type in the chat box or you can raise your virtual hand and unmute and ask.
It might also be good for the people who joined to just share what made you join today. What were you looking for? What you're looking at, and if there's some way in which that can be supported, or what's here now, having listened to all of us. And we can put on our videos, just have a cozy chat as we start. If you'd like to. I think Fatima has shared. I was just looking to see what a therapist's journey is like. Just curious and learn so much. Yeah, thank you, Fatima. Certain richness that each of their sharings has brought into the space. We can take some time to also absorb that, recognize that. There's also Shilpi who's joined us. She also coordinates the trainings, and so she will also be able to be in touch with you as we go through things, you can write to her. And if there are any details that you want, Gayatri, it might be a good idea also to kind of share the link and the chat. I'm just wondering, as we are waiting for people to, still not to just share. I'm just wondering if we have anything more that we wish to add to Rukmini, Gurba, Kanika, Payal.
Can I say something?
Yes, Gurba. Yeah.
Yeah, I had that point considered, but I forgot. There's this word that is like very much trending and it holds a clinical significance, but it's also a trending word nowadays. That is trauma informed. And what does it really mean to be trauma informed? It is in simple words, is just looking out if the client is really feeling safe with whatever they are experiencing in the process, and is it really okay for them to talk about, to feel, to sense all these things right now in this moment. And the POP process modality is inherently trauma informed, because even I remember the trauma module was in the second year, but even before we came across that, we learned a lot about safety and checking and tracking if the client is really feeling safe in the moment, and is it really okay for them to go ahead with the process like that, and how would they be supported, how would they be um, mm, met in the moment. So uh, that was very uh, uh, very vital, even to learn and know, even experientially. And also the modality is, it really aligns with, it allows the process to align with our natural movements of the body mind. Naturally we move away from the discomfort, we move towards from something that is desired, and how in the process those movements and just accompanying them in that process, how it can unfold a lot. So yeah.
Thank you, Gurba, for bringing that in of how presence-oriented psychotherapy, the learning of it and also the access of it is very important, simply because it is a moment-to-moment kind of process. And so there is inherently a slowing down that is required both within the therapist that all of you have spoken about, but also in the process, in the therapeutic encounter that is like really slow and moving. And as we do that, then we are able to kind of like really listen in terms of what is needed in this moment. So then, therefore, it makes it quite safe and it makes it also very trauma informed, because we are responding to the to what is needed right now. So we are able to kind of moderate that pace and what is required. Another thing that then it reminds me of is how the course is structured, and that might be helpful also to kind of like you said, Purva, that even though we did the trauma module in the second year, there was so much that was already there, even from the first module onwards, and that's the way the course is structured. So there are all these different layers that we keep exploring, but we go in depth with each of them in a particular module. So each module is really building on what has been done, thought, experienced in the previous module. And then that's how we are increasingly building our capacity, both within ourselves and in the therapeutic process, and the skills that are required. So that is developing also slowly, which is also why it is a 2-year program so that we can take our time, because these things do need the kind of to have an embodied way of coming into stance that we've all spoken. So a lot of them are also finishing the course, and I'm sure it also then feels like a beginning of sorts. So it's a never-ending process, but at least we have this 2 years to kind of like deep dive into a lot of these aspects. Okay, so if there aren't any other questions, maybe we can bring it to a close, Gayatri, and feel free to reach out to Shilpi or to any one of us if there's anything that comes up for you. And maybe we just take a few moments, even with the time that we have together, to just take a little pause and just see whatever is here. To maybe there's a feeling, maybe there's a thought, maybe there's a resonance with something, or a curiosity. Just see what's that for you. Just breathing with it and just bringing attention to the whole body. Feel just a deep sense of gratitude for this evening and this hour spent together, just listening to everyone. We'll be in touch. You should be. So, Gayatri, shall we close here?
Thank you, everyone. Deeply grateful. Thank you.